Hello and welcome to my journey. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel typically sharing recipes that can help me on a weight loss journey and hopefully you as well. Now today is my weigh-in video. How did I do this week? Well, you'll find out a little later. But for now, I'm just going to give you a little overview of my week. And then I'm going to speak on a topic that I got an email from Healthy, and I thought this was a really good topic. So that is what I'm going to share with you today. And if you can see my shirt, it says Georgia Dirt Shirt. If you're wondering what that means, it means that this shirt was actually dyed in Georgia dirt. I guess some sort of maybe clay or something that they have there. But this was dyed in the dirt from Georgia. I'd gotten this when I went to visit my Aunt Dawn years ago. And so I just thought it was rather neat that this was dyed in dirt. So, I mean, there were plenty of ways to dye things naturally, like beets and things like that. But I just thought it was cool, so I figured I'd give you an explanation in case you were curious about what it meant. Now my week, how did I do? Overall, I did fairly well as far as tracking. We did order food a few times from restaurants, and I was actually pretty good about not going past my full point, which I can do, especially if I'm eating too quickly, as I've mentioned before, and you don't feel full until you're feeling too full. So I was actually able to rein myself in, even though something tasted really good and I just kept wanting that taste. I restrained myself, I ate a little more slowly, and I stopped when I was full. As far as things that we did, we haven't really done much this week. I've been playing, as I mentioned, I think before, a game called Cyberpunk 2077. It's a computer game, shooting and missions and stuff like that. I've also been watching The Traitors. Now, if you have not seen The Traitors, it's on Peacock. I love it. It's like the third season of the US version just came out a short time ago, and the third season of the UK version came out right after that because they didn't want them, I guess, on at the same time. And I've just binged that stuff. It's like I go through it so quickly, and I love it and I hate it at the same time because I want to savor it and enjoy it, but they'll always leave you at the end with a little cliffhanger. I'll always start to watch the next episode and just see how that resolves. And sometimes I get roped in. And you have like 20-something people come to a castle there. The US version, the first season, they started with half reality stars and half everyday people. But maybe that didn't go over too well. Maybe they wanted to stick with the reality stars because the last two seasons have been all reality stars. The UK version typically does just everyday people. So does the Australian and there's another one, New Zealand, I think. Yeah, New Zealand. New Zealand only had one season, and I think that's all they're going to have from what I read. I'm hoping Australia has another season that comes out after I'm done with the UK version so I can keep going. But for those who don't know what it is, those two, the UK and US, are in Scotland. The other ones are in other locations that they have like a large house, if not a castle. And you get 20-something people there. Everyone shows up and they're all considered faithful. During the first, what they call round table, where they have this giant round table and everyone sits around it, they put blindfolds on, and 3 or 4 people are tapped on the shoulder and they become traitors. What they have to do is then murder the faithful. So every night they go into this turret and decide who they're going to kill, and they are eliminated from the game. Now, it's not just killing them. They then have the round table each day, and the faithful are supposed to try to banish a traitor. And a lot of times they get it wrong. They're eliminating their own faithful. So it's just a lot of fun, kind of a murder mystery kind of thing, but you're in on who's doing it. One of my absolute favorite seasons was season 2 of Australia. That had the best, Not my favorite season. As I was watching it, I was getting very frustrated with the contestants because they were not seeing what was right in front of their eyes. But the ending made up for it. But if that kind of thing interests you, you should really check out the trailers if you haven't already. I absolutely love it, and I'm a little upset that I am already on episode 10 of the UK version. And as I said, I'm hoping Australia has a third season coming out right after that, because otherwise I'm traitorless. But that's what I've been doing this week, is mostly watching that and playing games. I do have a doctor's appointment on the computer, the e-visit, I guess, where it's just a follow-up. They're trying to see how I'm doing since they upped my antidepressants, the bupropion that I had mentioned I was on before. And I'm sure they'll ask other things, but it's mostly just to touch base, so that's why I didn't have to go in. Anyways, for our topic this week, it is again from Healthy, and this is 3 tips to stay on track when motivation fades. Now, I've mentioned this in other videos a while ago, I know, where motivation is basically a myth. If you keep waiting for motivation to hit, you're never going to do it. I know at least that's the case for me and for a lot of people that I know. I mean, sometimes it's a way for me to procrastinate, because I do tend to procrastinate a lot, but waiting for motivation is not the way. You have to have determination and be determined to do it, whether you feel motivated to do it or not. But let us see what Healthy says here. So I got this one, I believe, last month in February, because it talks about losing the momentum of your New Year's goals. Now is the time of year when many people who set New Year's resolutions or goals begin to lose momentum. The excitement of January starts to fade, the day-to-day grind creeps back in, and suddenly those big goals from January 1st feel out of reach. And I know we've all been there. We all set a goal, and it doesn't have to be like a New Year's resolution or a goal. It's just anytime you set a goal, it's like you're all excited in the beginning, and then it kind of fades out for the most part, especially when other things start to creep back in and throw you off course. So here are a few of my top tips to help you stay on track and keep making progress toward your goals, even when motivation feels miles away. The first one is to swap motivation for momentum. Here's the reality. Motivation is a lie. See, I told you. Or more accurately, relying on motivation as our primary drive for achieving our goals is a lie. The truth is, we need to take action towards our goals regardless of how motivated we feel. So it is more determination that you need than motivation. Even if you have motivation one day, you may not have it the next. But it's the determination, being determined to lose the weight, being determined to follow your plan. That is what is going to get you through. Some days you'll wake up feeling highly motivated to get things done. Other days you'll feel the exact opposite. The secret sauce is showing up and taking the necessary actions, even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Action creates progress. And I think that's a big key here, is just doing it, regardless of how you feel, is going to lead to progress. And that progress builds a more sustainable sense of motivation, not the fleeting kind we often hope for day to day. Think of motivation as a byproduct, not the starting point. When you take consistent actions and see progress, you naturally feel more motivated to keep going. Which is true. When you see those pounds dropping off, when you see you're able to fit into an outfit you haven't fit into in a while, or a size that you haven't fit into in a while, that creates excitement and motivation to keep going. Number 2, showing up looks different every day. We often get caught in the trap of perfection, thinking that unless everything is done just right, our effort doesn't count. But why should we expect things to be the same every day or even every month? And that is another big key, is you can't expect perfection. There is a saying that many of us have heard, is progress, not perfection. Because striving for perfection, if you go off course even a little bit, you're going to beat yourself up about it. You're going to stress about it because you were not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Don't expect it. Just expect some progress and focus on that. Progress toward your goals can happen on a perfect day, and let's be honest, perfection doesn't exist. But it can also happen on days when you're just doing the bare minimum. The key is not quitting. The only way to lose is to stop trying, and as long as you're trying, that is the main thing. It doesn't mean you can just allow that every time and say, well, I've been trying, even though have you really? So sometimes you do have to take a look at your actions, at your thoughts, at what you're doing, and just see, am I really trying? You can't give yourself the excuse of at least I'm trying. You actually have to be trying. I mean, if you're giving that excuse every day, you have to really look at what you're doing if you're really trying. Each day you need to determine what enough looks like. Expecting the same numbers or output every single day is unrealistic. Some days you're going to go exactly as you're hoping, sometimes even for a week at a stretch, and then you might have a day that's not quite there. But did you do enough? A lot of times I have trouble, and I think a lot of us do, because I've heard from other people that their issue is nighttime snacking. And I've always said, if I've followed the plan throughout the day, I try to give myself a little flexibility on my bites or points, if you're using WW, to make sure I have something at the end of the day to go for those snacks. And they don't have to be junky snacks. Sometimes I'll take cereal that I've portioned out into 2 or 3 bite packages and just have that as a snack. It gives me some sweetness, it gives me some crunch, but it doesn't allow me to go overboard. So I'm going to be nighttime snacking. I know that. I just have to find a way to make that fit in. So I try to be really on track earlier in the day and then make an allowance for those snacks that I'm sure I'm going to have later in the day. Worse, expecting the same numbers or output every single day can drag you down, leaving you feeling less motivated over time when you don't meet those high expectations. And that's another problem with perfection. You can strive for perfection, but once you go off of that a little bit, you're going to feel totally deflated, totally defeated, and perfection is not what you're focusing on. You're focusing on progress. Are you doing the best you can? The best, as they said, might look different every day. Some days you might be at your maximum point, you might dip into your weekly points, but you were trying, you were within your range, and you were tracking. And that's one of the most important things I found, is making sure you're tracking. Give yourself grace and flexibility. Consistency, showing up for yourself in whatever way you can each day, is the magic that will get you to your goal. And that's the important part, is whatever way you can each day. It's not going to be the same every day. Some days are going to go great, other days are not going to be so great. But as long as you try, as long as you are determined to stay on track, that is all that matters. And then the third suggestion is to use the good, better, best system. I love this system because it ensures you never feel like you failed. Instead, it gives you a way to measure success on a spectrum. Here's how it works. Let's say your ideal step goal is 10,000 steps a day. Consider that your best. Then work backward to determine what better and good might look like. For example, best, 10,000 steps, your ultimate goal. Better, 8,000 steps, a solid effort. Good, 6,000 steps, still a win. If you don't hit your best goal, don't beat yourself up. Instead, look at what you did accomplish. Maybe you hit 8,000 steps, that's still something to celebrate. By using this system, you can avoid the all or nothing mindset and feel good about every effort, whether big or small. And I really think that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that before I read this, but I think that's a great idea to have certain levels. Well, I reached this goal today. It might not have been up here, but I did reach a goal. So I think that's a great idea, something we can all implement very easily. And remember, progress is progress. These are just a few of the strategies I use to keep moving forward even when my motivation dips. Don't let the end of January slump derail your efforts. Use these tips to recalibrate and keep pushing toward your goals. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. As long as you're moving forward, you're succeeding. Good luck, you've got this. And I totally agree with that, and I've said that many times before. It doesn't matter if you have a slip up. If you are still trying, still pushing forward, you're making progress. It's when you give up, that's the only time that you lose. Anything else is still a win. Might be a small win, but it's still a win. All right, so how did I do? Did I win or lose this week? Well, I can tell you, if you've been watching this, you know that I've been bouncing around the same 2.5 pounds. Happened again. But at least this time it went in the right direction. I'm now down to 237.6. Last week I was at 240, so I've lost 2.4 pounds. Now I'm hoping that this week I'm going to be as persistent as I can and keep tracking. That is really the key for me, is to keep tracking and not just, oh well, I messed it up, so forget about it. So I'm hoping this coming Friday, I will have another loss. It may not happen, but I think as I've been doing fairly well this week, I think I will. But for right now, I am at 237.6, and that means I have 42 pounds roughly to get to my 195 pound goal. So I'm still working at it. I hope that you are too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate that usual like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. Also, don't forget to check out the description box underneath where it starts to give a description of the video. It will also say more at the end. If you hit more, it opens up the description box, and you can find all sorts of information there, from my blog to my cookbook link to my stores, what have you. Even my social media is down there, or ways to contact me. If you want to contact me with a suggestion or a request, which I have gotten through my email, feel free. It is all down in the description box. All right, so now I have to go get ready for my e-visit with the doctor, and I hope that you all have a great week. I hope that you use some of the tips and tricks I was mentioning in this article. Don't wait for motivation, just be determined and persistent and keep pushing forward. I wish you all a great week, and until next time, bye.